We are creating three horizontals: the telecom bill for the carrier, the digital personal data protection bill focused on enforcing citizens' privacy, and the digital India bill, which looks at practically everything else required to be regulated, Union IT Minister Ashwini Vaishnav recently said. 2022 was the year of the regulator for the tech industry in India and across the world. India's IT Minister Ashwini Vaishnav's statement sums up how serious the Indian government is towards introducing a regulatory overhaul expected to be completed in the next 14 to 16 months. It was also a year that saw major layoffs among big techs in wake of the recession scare in the Western nations, and world governments doubled down on them to put in place robust systems of checks and balances in terms of data privacy, competitive market, and regulating online transactions. Add to this the FTX and crypto crash, and the year 2022 does seem humbling for the technology sector. The early signs of trouble for big techs came from Europe, when the European Union approved the Digital Services Act on April 22nd. The act holds social media companies more accountable for the content they host. The law bans ads targeted at minors or at a user's gender or ethnicity, and those that use deceptive practices. It also includes provisions designed to force platforms to crack down on content like hate speech and commercial scams, with fines that could reach billions of dollars for large firms. Things took a dramatic turn when Alphabet-owned Google, already under scrutiny by EU antitrust regulators since August, was fined twice by the Competition Commission of India within a week for abusing its market dominance in the Android devices ecosystem and Play Store policies. The fines came to a total of around 2,273 crore rupees. While periodic regulatory scrutiny, antitrust and privacy-related lawsuits against tech giants like Google, Meta and Apple are becoming increasingly frequent, the year 2022 saw an unprecedented push from the Indian government to put in place a comprehensive regulatory framework for IT and telecom. The Telecom Bill and the Digital India Act replace a bunch of old laws, and the Digital Personal Data Protection or DPDP Bill will enforce the right to privacy. The drafts of the Telecom Bill have been released for consultation, while the draft of Digital India Act is likely to come by December end. Speaking about the DPDP Bill, Kulbir Kaur, partner Forensics and Integrity Services at EY India, says the bill may have removed one of the biggest blocks in the Digital India story. She believes the revamped bill is much simpler and easier to comprehend.
As soon as the general data protection bill got instituted in EU, there was already a push on other nations and other countries to have something which is of an adequate nature. So it became imperative for us to have a dedicated digital data protection bill to stay relevant in the lines of the other economies like the US and the UK. To the digital data protection bill that has come up right at the fag end of 2020. This revised version is simpler, easier to comprehend, easier for a layman to understand what the requirements of a digital Nagrik are, and more so, what are the rights that the digital Nagrik has in today's world.
More recently, the Parliamentary Standing Committee on Finance recommended India needs to enact a new Digital Competition Act and prescribe a code of conduct for tech giants so that they do not stifle competition with their market power. It listed a set of undesirable practices observed in the digital economy and said that a code of conduct based or ex-ante approach was needed for digital market winners called digital market gatekeepers. But why did regulatory intervention become the theme in 2022? Salman Waris, managing partner at Tech Legis Advocates and Solicitors, explains.
I think there are multiple factors. One, of course, is India is very quickly maturing as a tech market. The regulators have started looking at things more with a fine-tooth comb and more from a educated and informed opinion. They were, long overdue. There is also certain political considerations as well. We are somewhere in the middle, almost heading into the next elections. And I think the government wants to tighten the screws so that, the next elections, the big tech are able to be regulated by them and play a more informed role.
Business Standards' Pranjal Sharma points to the larger global forces that have caused the regulatory fist to close down on the big techs.
I think the government, civil society, consumers, regulators across the world are very concerned about the business models which are being created. Are they anti-competitive? Second is, how transparent is your model? How accountable are you to the consumers? I think these are the issues which apply to all other businesses are now coming strongly on technology-based big tech companies to ensure that they have to follow the same rules. They are not above regulation, they are not above questioning, they are not above accountability. And therefore, I think when innovation is discussed, they will have to think of innovations which ensure that accountability and transparency is built into the technological solutions that they provide for consumers.
However, even as regulators move to rein in the big techs, the year also saw crucial movements in tech innovations. Both Meta and Google ended the year with a focus on refining and adapting their artificial intelligence services to vernacular markets in India and other parts of the world. An increasing number of startups is entering the metaverse, while both Indian and global artists and content creators are flocking to the NFT marketplaces. Closer home, the government introduced the Open Network for Digital Commerce, or ONDC, and the digital rupee. Another major development on the financial front came from the growth of the account aggregator network launched in 2021. But the most talked about development came from the telecom sector. The ultra-high-speed 5th generation of 5G telecom services were launched in October. As of November 26, telecom operators have started 5G services in 50 towns in over 14 states and union territories of India. 5G telecom networks are expected to generate revenues of nearly $180 billion in the country by 2030, accounting for almost 2% of India's GDP, according to a report by industry body NASSCOM and Arthur D. Little, a consultancy firm. The Indian smartphone market has seen a steady rise in the last 5 years, barring the COVID hit 2020, to grow 1.5 times from 2016 to 2021. The market is projected to grow 10% in 2023 to reach 175 million units. With the power of 5G in tow, 2023 is being projected as the year of further innovations in the IT and telecom sectors. With greater penetration of smartphones and young users rapidly entering the digital mainstream, how will the regulatory intervention affect the tech sector in the upcoming year? Sharma has this to say.
So younger and younger students are coming digitally online. I think that's very exciting because you're going to have a far more inclusive society. The digital divide will reduce significantly as you ensure that more and more people are connected. But it also raises the anxiety, which is that for a lot of these people, issues of safety, privacy, etc., are not top of mind. Therefore, it's very, very important that regulators, governments, and the technology service providers remain cognizant about the fact that the levels of privacy protection, data protection, anti-competitive behavior, the questions around them have to be far more rigorous than they were. So there is going to be a period where people will have access, but people may not have that kind of understanding. And I expect that regulators should be and would be very, very strict about protecting the rights of the new category of users who are joining the digital mainstream.
The 5th gen mobile network is poised to catapult India Inc. in an era of fast connectivity in 2023. While more immersive services across the board will reach consumers, the year will also test the big tech and regulators' mutual intent in making the digital space safer and fairer for all users.
If you like this video, share it and subscribe to Business Standard. For more news, views and insights, log on to www.business-standard.com. Do also follow us on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Telegram and LinkedIn.